Hello and welcome to Our Voices. This week, we're talking about the practice of polygamy, both on the continent and around the world. We take a look at how our cultures have evolved over time and what impact that progression has had on plural marriage. I'm Ayen Bior, and with me is Auriane Itangishaka. Haiti Adams Fitzpatrick is on assignment today, and joining us at the table is Aisha Muazu and Yusuf Harande from VOA's Hausa service. Welcome, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
So, polygamy. Everybody has an opinion. Yusuf, you are the only man at the table, so we are going to put you to task to help us understand this from the male perspective. But you are vocally pro-polygamy. Can you tell us why?
Yes, of course. When we look at it in an advantage point to the man, it would definitely make someone to be responsible for his actions or his doings. By having multiple wives, definitely you would stay away from doing other things. You stick to those your wives, and at the same time, it will help in reducing the number of unmarried women. Equally important, it helps one to have a sense of belonging.
But can one man equally love all of his wives and his children?
That's almost impossible. Yes, he can love them, but not equally, because the love shared between these wives is at different levels for certain reasons. Some treat him better, some attend to his needs better. And then for the children, even in monogamous homes, you have men loving certain children, for certain reasons. Mm-hmm. But the one thing that is important in polygamous marriages is for the man to be firm, to have rules and principles and say, I cannot accept this in my home. And the moment any woman goes against any of those principles of his, he should stand his, grounds.
That is why I have a problem with polygamy, because it's an egotistical system centered around a man, what he wants, how he feels. And if it's a marriage, it's supposed to be love. It's supposed to be people coming together and agreeing on things. And in a polygamous relationship, I say that it's almost impossible. It's a system where I see multiple women, consciously or subconsciously, working towards every day pleasing a man. What he likes sexually, what he likes to eat, what he likes, everything about him. And I don't think that would be
in monogamous marriages. Doesn't the woman do the same thing?
I don't compete with anybody. I'm married and I'm not competing
you don't compete with anybody, but you do those things to please your man.
That's true.
That's one. And then in a polygamous marriage, you share the days with the man.
Sure.
Okay. Ooh. So you don't get to do every.
That right there.
You don't get to do the chores every day.
That's where it ends for me.
No. If you are able to tame your jealousy, I believe you're able to.
I did not grow up in a polygamous household, but I have a lot of friends who did. And they have told me that in their polygamous household, there is a sense of an unhealthy sort of competition within not just the children, but also the wives. So I have to agree with Auriane on this one. Unless you guys can change my mind.
Well, I am also a product of a polygamous home, but we've never seen it from that point of view. We've always seen it from a vantage position where we all consider ourselves, all siblings consider themselves as the children of the man. So we get to bear our father's name. Anything we do is, we do good, is our father.
So the principles that you talked about, the principle that are set forth from the beginning. I think that could help the atmosphere in the home, knowing that you are of one father and not of different mothers. But I think that the atmosphere, when you're dealing with women, we are emotional creatures. We are driven by emotions.
Absolutely.
And that's why I think for the men, it's a lot of work to make sure that everyone stays on their
That's why he needs to be
yes,
firm.
Of course. Yeah, definitely. But having said what Aisha has said, of course, as you look at the responsibilities shouldered on that man, of course, as pleasing that man alone would make him feel like, okay, I have to take care of those women. I have to cater for them. Whatever is their need, I make sure that I have taken care of it. So also when it comes to the kids, of course, yes, you have to find a way of taking all those kids as yours. There is no room or such room that will give you to think that, okay, these are my favorite child, this is not mine. Of course, yes, you have to treat them equally.
And then in societies where polygamy is accepted, the main reason why it's accepted is because they want to safeguard the man from social ills so that he doesn't deviate from that. And if he has multiple women, come to think of the stress the man has to go through when he goes out every day to look for daily bread for the family. So when he gets home, he's welcomed home.
So Aisha, I think that this is where our perspectives diverge. Because when it comes to infidelity, which I think is what you're talking about, I have heard people say that polygamous marriages decrease infidelity. I'm not convinced that it does. I think that what happens in polygamous marriages is that infidelity is redefined so that if a man is with other women, he has the green light to do so. Do you see what I'm saying?
I don't see it from that point of view because I am a Muslim, and as a Muslim, a man is allowed to marry more than one wife, and that means those 4 wives are legitimate wives. So if he goes outside those 4,
what if he has a girlfriend?
If he has a girlfriend,
isn't that what happens?
Well, if he has a girlfriend, then I would say yes. You know,
it is infidelity, or
that's infidelity.
Infidelity,
But what brings about the infidelity? Those women that are unmarried. That's what brings about infidelity.
Exactly.
But there's, to ask you as a man, she said for women will make sure that he stays in the confines of marriage and not be infidel, right?
Correct.
But can the 4 women satisfy his sexual appetite? Are there enough?
Absolutely. I see no reason why they shouldn't be, because we have 1, 2, 3 women. So definitely you should be satisfied with those women. That would also prevent you from going outside your marriage.
I still think that if you have an extra wife, you're already cheating.
And above all, marriage is not all about sexuality. It's sex.
Yes.
It's not just about sex.
It's a very important part of it.
Yeah, it's important, but not
not
most
the only
important.
part.
I
It's not the
agree.
ultimate.
I agree.
You know,
But
having a healthy relationship is important.
Correct.
But you know, in the context of just today, does polygamy actually work?
Absolutely,
Yes, it
it
does.
works. You see high, intelligent, very educated people in our society today, they are still in polygamous. They have 2, 3, 4 wives.
I am pro because if the man is able and capable of, maintaining more than one wife, yes, he can go for that. Because if you add a wife to the one you have, then be rest assured that you have responsibilities, along.
Globally speaking, though, research does show that polygamy rates are going down, especially in West African countries. Like looking at Burkina Faso, Benin, Guinea, Senegal, demographic and health surveys show that polygamy is going down. So I don't know, maybe in the context of Nigeria, northern Nigeria, it might seem like it is growing, but on a global scale, it's going down.
Well, I think in Nigeria it's growing, because if you look at the number of young men at this time, they are marrying 2, 3, 4 wives, you would see it's going up and up. And I've discussed this in Time Without Numbers with young girls back in Nigeria, which they talked about. They rather have a married man to marry them than to marry single men.
Is it a relationship where women are not living in the same compound, maybe?
Well, it depends. If you can afford to have a separate apartment for them, absolutely. Yeah. But if not, you have to put them in the same apartment. Certainly, you would do that.
And these days, people are looking at all the means of trying to have the women live separately, though in the same compound. Every woman has her own section. She has everything she needs in her own section, and
But in Nigeria, there's a cap, just 4 wives. Correct. I wish that other countries, not just in Africa, but all over the world, could model that, because there's cases where you have men with multiple, like dozens of wives, and some of them struggle to take care of them.
Sure.
Which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
That is the issue. Well, we're going to talk a lot more about this. We have a lot more to say. And of course, you can add your voice to the conversation. Find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Our handle is @VOA Our Voices, or send us a WhatsApp message.
Coming up, does polygamy lead to prosperity or poverty for women and children? Well, we'll have that conversation after the break. But first, do African women change their views on polygamy once they move abroad? I had a chance to speak to a few of them in Washington, D.C. in a braiding shop. Take a look.
I cannot share my husband. He's my personal property. There are many females born every day. People can look for their own partners. For me, I will not share my husband.
There are more women than men. And instead of men flirting around and having mistresses all over the place, why not let them just marry those women? Giving a chance to all women to have a husband. Because if we count one man for one woman, many women will not have a husband.
Where we are from, being polygamous is not a problem. We have values that are intrinsic with the polygamous culture because our ancestors were polygamous. We were conceived into such unions. Our parents were raised that way, and we are also the outcome of polygamy.
Me, I don't like to share my husband. A lot of people like their husband, have another wife after they have problem, because they pretending like they like it, it's okay, but after they crying every night. Yeah, I'm Muslim. Please, people, woman, stop pretending. It's not good. Show people what you feel, Show your man what you feel.
Is about more than just sitting here and talking about women's issues. It's about listening to them
and bringing their opinions to the table and making sure their voices are heard.
Because our lived experiences, our stories, and our voices will help shape the next generation.
You're with Our Voices. Welcome back. As more African societies move towards monogamy as the norm, family law experts say those who choose plural marriages often lack the support and structures needed to sustain their households. VOA Jesus Oni has more.
Life is no cakewalk for Jason Asina Agutu as he labors to meet the needs of his 2 wives and kids.
I lead a struggling life. I go for manual work out there, splitting firewood, clearing sewer lines. I carry luggage for a few coins just to provide for my family.
The Kenyan father of 7 juggles his time and resources between his family in the countryside and the other in Nairobi. He regrets not having the money to send his older son to university.
Having 2 families or 2 homesteads, people say the individual is capable. But the truth is, he is not managing. It is something that happened without one knowing. You can go somewhere and find someone you can't let go. You made a mistake, and you got yourself into it.
While the number of men taking multiple wives has declined worldwide, polygamous unions remain common in many African societies.
It maintains its popularity in rural areas for the most part, but as Africa becomes a more urbanized society, there's a greater shift toward monogamy in those cities. And that may be largely for economic reasons, that it's more expensive to maintain a large household in a city than it is in a village.
Polygamy has long been a part of traditional or religious customs, predominantly in patriarchies across the continent. In the past, more wives meant more hands for labor, and the number of children that the household had was seen as a strength, says Kenyan family lawyer Judith Wangori.
There was distribution not only of time, of attention, but also even resources that was managed by the customs, by the norms. But also, the girls were brought up to expect that polygamy could happen. The men were also brought up to take in the responsibility that if they choose polygamy, then there are certain responsibilities that go with them.
But with the global rise of monogamy as the dominant marriage institution, the cultural landscape has shifted, raising challenges for those who choose plural marriages today.
People have been brought up with a sense of monogamy in them. They want to own, they want to possess the husband. And then they come into a situation where they probably have to share him with the first family. It's difficult.
Critics say the practice leaves women vulnerable to abuse, neglect, poverty, and household conflict, and can deprive women and children of their marital and inheritance rights. Laws on polygamy vary across Africa, but advocates say legal protection is increasingly more necessary to protect the women and children involved in polygamous unions. Jesus Oni, VOA News.
Thanks to Jesus Semen for helping us get a better look at all the challenges of polygamy. And as we just saw, there are social and psychological implications of the practice. And we asked our followers what they think. And here's one comment from @ArrowDeng. He says, in the old days, multiple wives meant many children, which in turn meant abundant labor for a family. A polygamous man could grow rich with each wife. But in the modern era, where children are a financial liability, is polygamy still practical? And that's the question that I want to ask you.
Yes, I think it is. It depends on how the man, how financially buoyant the man is. First, you shouldn't go into polygamy if you know you cannot afford it, because it's expensive. And then two, the women these days also take up jobs. If they don't take up jobs, they have businesses they're running. So I think with that, finances coming from both sides, I think they are able to support the family.
Well, I don't agree with him saying the kids are financial liability. I totally disagree with that. Of course, as you already know that you should be able to know that, okay, I'm capable of taking care of those kids. Of course, as you can't just start giving birth to kids if you don't know that, or if you know that you cannot take care of those kids. Of course, as you should be able to tell yourself that, okay, yeah, I will be able to take care of those kids, so therefore I can have as much kids I should.
And I do agree with polygamy when we're looking at financial benefits that could come with it, because there are societies, for instance, in Kenya, where some cultures, some societies where when a man has a lot of wealth, polygamy is sort of justified because he needs people to help him manage that wealth, people he can trust. So a lot of times they marry to be able to have someone to help them manage that wealth. But I also think that it's definitely on the negative side, because when a man dies in a polygamous relationship, I think there is a lot of burden on to who's going to take care. Because I have the understanding that mostly in a polygamous relationship, it's a very much patriarchal system where they depend on the man. And so that's where my problem is when it comes to dependence.
Well, that is if there is no system in place. I am Muslim, I'm from the northern part of Nigeria, and because there's a system in place, when a man dies, it is already, everybody knows while he's alive how his wealth will be shared amongst his wives, if he has a number of wives, and then amongst his children, depending on their sexes.
So can you help us understand that system? Because I do think that it's important to understand, how it's broken down. Because if I was the third wife, I would want equal share, with the other two wives as well.
Absolutely. That's exactly what you get.
Is that what happens?
Yes, you get exactly what the first wife gets, the second wife, the third wife, and the fourth wife.
But that's if
but
you
in
have
case
something
of the
to
children,
give.
that's if
you
you
have
have
something
something
to give.
Yes. In the case of the children, the male children take 2 parts of what a female child gets. Why? Because it is expected that the male child will take responsibility for his mother and his sisters or brothers or whoever.
The male child?
Yeah. The male child, yes.
Yeah.
From which wife? The male child from which? From all of
kids,
them?
all of the kids, yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be shared equal among the male child, while the female kids would take one third of the position.
I'll bring back the question in terms of the reason why financially it's a risk, because a man gives the women the permission to go out and work. Is that correct?
Correct.
So if in that relationship the women did not get the permission to work and they depend on that one income, for instance, he doesn't have any land, he doesn't have any herds, but they depend on the daily income. So if she did not have the permission to work, it's an issue.
Well, I don't think it's an issue, because if he said she cannot work, definitely he should be able to take care of her. He should be able to provide for her. So certainly there is no room for her to burden herself to really think she must work if he said no.
But there is an imbalance of power there, right? Because the woman has to seek permission from her husband in order to work. And I think a lot of people that I've spoken to about polygamy, they say that it is a form of disempowering women because they you're rolling your eyes, so I really want to hear what you have to say about that.
I really don't agree that's as the case, because I know of a family, a woman got married to her man, she wanted to fold her hands and sit at home, and he said, no, lady, you have to work. I can have you sitting at home because I could die tomorrow, and she got up, and the marriage didn't last, and she was able to continue taking care of herself without having to feel the weight of the man, living her life. Right. So I don't agree with that.
That it disempowers women.
No, I don't agree with that. I don't.
And you don't either.
Said in our meetings that men should take care of their wives and they shouldn't work.
Oh, certainly, because you already know that this is what you are going into. You are going into an agreement that you're going to take care of those 2, 3, 4 wives you have. So there is no need for them to go and work, regardless of your level of education, your wealth. Of course, you should be able to take care of them. That is why I said earlier on, it's not issue of being less educated or being highly educated, so long as you sign the contract that you're going to take care of those wives, of course, is your responsibility.
Well, and if she doesn't work, she could do other things. These days, women work from home. There's social media. There are businesses she can, go into. So I believe that it's important for the woman to be financially independent. And in most situations, you have the woman managing her resources. It's her money. If she chooses to, contribute to the family, then that's fine.
That's her choice.
Yeah, that's her
choice. We have in Africa right now, we have a large pool of unemployed young men and women. So I don't foresee polygamy standing too long.
Well, you would say that, but I have seen it to go far beyond what we are.
Well, we have that on the other side.
Imagining. Because
on the other side, we also have women who are not married. Millions of them.
Millions.
Who don't want to be married.
Twice or twice.
And you have women who don't want to marry men. And I know that's controversial, but the idea that there's more women and so polygamous marriages should happen because of that, I don't always buy that, just right off the bat.
Well, of course, when you look at it, for a woman not to even get to be married, of course, she's lacking something. Definitely, because the security is not there. But once she's married, of course, she has a security, financial security, social security.
So I think that's, Yusuf, I don't mean to cut you off, but I think that's one of the reasons that kind of makes me uneasy with all of this, is the premise that a woman does need a man. Now, obviously, if a woman wants a man, that's different. But this idea that a woman needs a man to have financial security, just does not sit very well with me.
I think Yusuf is talking, what he means by security is emotional security. Because these days we have, would you rather say that you wouldn't have a man?
I have a full family. Listen, I'm not of one who, because I think that it kind of veers off into this conversation where if a woman is like, I don't want to get married, she's seen as a woman who does not like men or hates men. I don't think that that's the case, but I do think that there are women who don't want to get married. There is Oprah, for example, has not gotten married. She does not want to get married. I think it's a personal choice. But I think that the premise that women need to get married to have some kind of security, I wonder if that's flawed, and we have cut you off so many times, Yusuf. I want you to finally say what you have to say.
Well, honestly, when you look at it, in terms of talking about social, financial, absolutely, she would need a security. I've seen cases, times without number, that you would see a woman, working class woman, well, if she's not married with her co-workers, you would see how they will address her. She would not be respected as much as if she is married.
Marriage is still definitely still have a very strong place in our society. And I think that's why the issue of women having to get married is still very strong on the continent.
Because any unmarried woman of a marriageable age is stigmatized in the society. She's expected to be married.
Correct.
I don't see it as having to be financially independent. You can be financially independent. I know a lot of people, a lot of women who are financially sound, but they also yearn to have a partner in their life. A man they could call.
I think it's a natural desire.
It's a natural desire.
And if you look at in our society nowadays, you would see that there is a saying, ladies, women would say, your money is our money. My money is my money.
Yusuf, that is one thing that we can both agree on. Your money is my money is my money. I like that.
After the break, we look at polygamy outside the continent. Stay with us.
Welcome back. You're with Our Voices. Take a look at this. This is a U.S. show called Sister Wives on TLC. It explores the lives of a plural family and invites viewers to, quote, rethink marriage. The husband, Cody, is legally married to his first wife and spiritually married to the other 3 women. When the first episode premiered in 2010, Cody had 13 kids and 4 wives. The show is on its 13th season, so it is clearly striking a tone with viewers.
I just fell in love, and then I fell in love again, and then I fell in love again.
With Robin coming along, it just changes everything. If it happens, she just has to be absolutely amazing. I knew it would be complicated, but I didn't know it would break my heart.
The wives, they work together as a team, and I want to be a part of that team.
So this show has been very polarizing. Supporters of polygamy think that the conversation of polygamy should be held along with the conversation of marriage equality. And of course, we had a lot of people who were pro-polygamy saying that polygamy should also be legalized. But I want to ask you guys, do you think that in the context, in this American context, should polygamy be legalized?
Yeah, I would say yes. If, of course, yes, we will look at how the system here is designed, of which you would be having to have your wife contribute in taking care of the household. But if we look at what is applicable in Africa, of course, it's sole responsibility of a husband. So, but if we would violate or if we would keep down our culture back in Africa and practice it here for the second wife or the first wife to contribute, absolutely is viable.
Right, because legalizing polygamy in the U.S. would mean undoing the structures that we're all used to. For example, in the workplace, a husband can get health insurance for his wife, but he can't get it for multiple wives, right? Also, I mean, just in the context of, our debt, our student loan debts, our medical bills, now, you have just this heavy burden that you now have to transfer over to one wife. And of course, you have to decide if you have to give it to other wives as well.
I actually don't think companies would like that. In a very capitalistic society, the companies wouldn't like that because then you have to account for health insurance for 3 wives, multiple children. Absolutely. So I think in this capitalistic society, a lot of people will fight, they will push back a lot.
But don't you think it will fetch more money to those insurance companies?
How?
Yeah, of course, instead of having one person, one wife for me, I'll have 2, 3 wives.
So pay a bigger premium?
Of course, yes, I'll be for more
premium. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. And then the issue of having children without parents would, come to an end.
Well, you both make a compelling case.
We leave you with a quote from Nigerian-American rapper and singer Jidena. He used his voice to say, "I believe in monogamy, I believe in polyamory, I believe in marriage, I believe in non-traditional union. There are agreements and compromise to be made in every relationship. Most of all, I believe in love and honesty as the foundation. I'm looking for a wifey."
And that's all from us today. You can catch up on previous episodes of Our Voices on voanews.com. A sincere thanks to Aisha Muazu and Yusuf Harande from the Hausa service. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
And as always, thank you for watching. Good day.